Ethan had always believed hard work could fix almost anything. At 28, he worked long days at a small auto repair garage with his best friend Jason. He wasn't rich, but he was proud of everything he built with his own hands. Cars made sense to him. Broken parts had reasons, and problems had solutions if you stayed patient. His wife Emma lived differently. She dreamed of luxury trips, expensive clothes, and a life she constantly saw online. At first, their differences seemed manageable, but over time they turned into distance and silence. Emma often complained that Ethan was never home. He worked too much, always chasing his dream of opening his own garage. "You're always gone," she said. Ethan replied, "I'm doing this for us," but she slowly stopped believing in us. One rainy night changed everything. Ethan was driving home when a truck lost control on the wet road and crashed into him. Metal screamed, glass shattered, and everything went black. When he woke up in the hospital, he couldn't feel his legs. The doctor told him his spine was severely damaged and he might never walk again. In that moment, his future collapsed. The months that followed were filled with surgeries, pain, and frustration. He hated depending on others and hated the pity in people's eyes. More than anything, he felt useless. At first, Emma stayed with him and promised they would get through it together, but slowly she changed. Less time at the hospital, more distance, more silence. One night, Ethan saw a message on her phone, "Can't stop thinking about last night." When he asked, she denied everything. 6 months later, Ethan returned home in a wheelchair. Life became harder in every way. Bills piled up, tension grew, and silence filled the house. One evening, Emma finally said, "I can't live like this anymore." Ethan already understood. She told him she had met someone else, Ryan Carter, a wealthy businessman who could give her stability. Ethan gave a bitter laugh and said, "So it's money." She replied, "It's a different life," and the next morning she left. After that, Ethan stopped living properly. Days blurred, he barely spoke, barely ate, and his world shrank into silence. Then Jason arrived with groceries and a laptop and told him, "You can still do something." Ethan answered, "I can't even walk." Jason said, "You don't need legs to think. You know cars. Teach people." At first, Ethan refused, but Jason kept pushing until he agreed to record one video. It felt strange and uncomfortable, but when Ethan talked about cars, something returned: confidence and purpose. The first video failed, but the second went viral after he exposed scams in auto repairs. People shared it everywhere. His audience grew quickly, and Ethan began posting regularly, slowly rebuilding his life. He launched an online auto parts store from home, which started small but expanded as trust in him grew. Meanwhile, Emma's new life looked perfect online: luxury hotels, expensive gifts, parties. But reality was colder. Ryan was distant, always busy, never truly present. She was more decoration than partner. One night she overheard him say, "How long do you think this one lasts?" And another voice answered, "Long enough." She smiled outside but felt something break inside. Years passed. Ethan's business became a major company with warehouses and employees. He became known as someone who rebuilt his life after tragedy and no longer saw himself as broken. Emma's life eventually collapsed when Ryan left her for another woman who was pregnant. No explanation, no apology, just silence. For the first time, she was alone. She found Ethan again in an online interview titled "Mechanic Paralyzed in Crash Builds Multi-Million-Dollar Company." She watched him calm, confident, completely changed. She sent a message, "Can we talk?" After a while, he replied, "Okay." They met at a cafe on a rainy day. Emma arrived nervous, and when Ethan entered, she barely recognized him. He was calm, composed, steady. She apologized for everything, admitting she had been selfish and wrong, saying she thought money would fix her life. He listened without interrupting. Then she asked if they could try again. Ethan stayed quiet and finally said, "If you had come back when I was broken, when I had nothing, it might have meant something different." but you came back after I rebuilt myself. Emma looked down, unable to respond. She whispered, I loved you. He answered, I know, but love isn't enough when someone leaves at your lowest point. She cried quietly. When he stood to leave, she asked, Do you ever miss me? Ethan paused and said, I did, but missing someone doesn't mean they belong in your future. Then he left into the rain, finally free from what used to define him.